Welcome to 20-minute shoulders. Finding a comfortable seated position on the mat, eyes closed, just taking notice of your breath. Thanking yourself for showing up today. Setting an intention for our practice, which can simply be just to connect that breath and that movement, to quiet our mind, or to find a little fun in our practice. And when we're ready, we're going to extend the legs, flex the feet, and inhale your arms up. Exhale, forward fold. So making sure the back stays nice and long and lengthened. You can grab your big toes or the edges of your feet. Coming up on your knees for a shoulder stretch with the strap. Bringing your hands, shoulders width distance, or perhaps a little bit further out to the edge of the strap, and following your breath, just raising your arms up and over, front to back, and then moving backwards to forwards, keeping those arms straight, trying not to cheat and bend the elbows, and just using your breath to bring those shoulders around. Maybe even scooting your hands in closer together as you begin to feel your shoulders warm up. Finding that breath, that rotation, that heat as we lubricate the shoulder joints. And then using the strap or a towel maybe, you're going to bring one hand, your right hand overhead holding the strap, and then your left hand is going to go behind your back to meet it. So some people can just grab their fingers immediately. Some people need the strap, or if you'd like to modify it further, just take that right arm behind your back and then using your left hand to just tug gently at the right elbow. Whatever your level of shoulder flexibility allows. And then switching sides, maybe finding some micro movements, working the shoulders back and forth. Just feeling into that tension in the body and sending the breath there. Opening up the chest and the shoulders, gazing forward gently. And then when we're ready, dropping the strap and just bringing your hands to your shoulders for some arm circles. Moving them forward first, trying to touch those elbows in front of you. And then after 5, switching to the opposite direction, trying to get those elbows to touch on your back. And then meeting me in a tabletop position, neutral spine. Before we inhale, drop that belly to the floor, gaze lifts, and exhale, pushing the mat away from you, rounding out the back for scared cat. Inhale, cow pose, and exhale, scared cat, finding your own rhythm, and then meeting me back in neutral. As we inhale to lift the left leg, the right arm follows. Maybe staying here, keeping that flat back, maybe reaching your arm around and grabbing your leg for a half bow, finding whatever level of comfort, flexibility, stability that you have, and then letting that right arm float down and the left leg meets it. Switching sides, finding maybe that steady pose first, nice long line from the tips of your fingers down to your toes, or maybe reaching around, grabbing at the foot, opening up that chest even further, pushing the back of the foot into the hand, and then releasing, shaking it out. Before we return to the other side, we inhale, the arm and leg come up. Exhale, contract that elbow to knee. Inhale out, exhale, contract, following your own breath, finding that strong core, that nice steady line as we inhale to extend, and then dropping our right arm and our left leg. Taking a breath before we do the other side, finding that same rhythm of inhale to extend, exhale, contract at whatever speed feels comfortable for us, but remembering this isn't a race. Finding the stability is more important, that core stability. And then coming forward onto those hips, straightening your legs, opening your chest, shoulders directly above your wrists, and pressing back for downward facing dog. And we're just going to move, heat the breath and the body through upward facing dog and downward facing dog, following your own breath, rolling over the toes if that's comfortable for you, but remembering to keep the shoulders engaged. When we're in that downward facing dog, we want our hips pointed up towards the corner of the sky, the room. And then when we're in upward facing dog, thighs come off the mat. We can be on our toes or on the tops of our feet, but our chest is nice and open. And when we're ready, coming into a child's pose, knees about hips width distance, settling your forehead down on the mat. And then coming up on your fingertips and walking your hands over to the left side. When you feel you can't go any further, crossing that right arm over the left for an extra side body stretch. And then moving through center to the other side. Returning our breath to normal, opening the lungs and side body from that heated. And then coming back to center, coming up onto our belly. And we're just going to do a light hamstring stretch, grabbing one foot and then the other, before moving into a bow pose. So we can either keep that hamstring stretch or you can grab at the ankles, flexing the feet, opening the shoulders, finding that balance, that core strength and stability, and then releasing down to the ground. Bringing your hands forward, right hand over the left, forehead comes down to the hands for crocodile pose. Breathing and relaxing. And then stretching that left arm up at a diagonal and taking your left leg and twisting, crossing it over the right leg, wringing out the spine and switching sides, keeping that left arm up at a diagonal. Your right arm pushes the ground as the right foot falls over the left for a nice spinal twist. Bringing that foot back down. And then on your next inhale, clasping your hands behind your back, lifting the chest, opening up those shoulders, feeling the difference from when we started to now. And then bringing those palms down to either side of your shoulder, coming up on your fingertips or keeping the palms flat. Inhale for baby cobra. So the chest stays open. Instead of really pushing into the mat, I want you to find that core, that back strength. Exhale, bringing the forehead down to the mat. On your next inhale, you can come all the way up for full cobra, or you can stay in baby cobra, but hugging those elbows tight to your chest, keeping that pelvis ground down into the mat. Inhaling to allow that back, that flexibility before we squeeze the glutes, and then exhale, coming down. Inhaling our arms out straight and following our breath for a few Superman exercises. Inhale, we lift the shoulders and the legs off the ground. Exhale, we release, maybe finding a static hold. And then recentering your breath back in crocodile pose, this time left palm over right, forehead comes down to the tops of the hands. And then using your left arm to grab the outer edge of your left foot for another hamstring stretch. Pulling gently, bringing that heel to your butt and switching sides, maybe keeping the forehead down on the mat, or the left cheek can lay on the mat as you stretch the hamstring on the right side, pulling that foot in towards your butt. Moving into dolphin pose, we're going to come up on our knees and then our elbows about shoulder width distance. You can measure that by putting your left arm on the inside of your right elbow, and then that's how far away your arm should be. You can either clasp your hands into a V or you can have them straight out. Just be sure to engage those shoulders and then push the butt up towards the sky like a downward facing dog. This is dolphin pose, so if you've found this pose, you can move through some dolphin push-ups, following your breath, bringing your chin to those hands, and then coming back, pushing through the shoulders, following the gaze. This is what all of the openness, the stretching, the strength we've been working on in our shoulders is for this moment. As we move through these push-ups, and then lowering your knees to the ground for child's pose. Finding the steady rhythm of that breath again. Inhale, coming up onto your knees for camel pose. So keeping a nice straight line down the front of your body. Inhale, our arms come up. And on the exhale, taking that left arm down to our left heel. And we can stay here, just opening up one side. Gaze lifts toward that right hand. And then using our core to come back up to center. And dropping the right arm down to grab the right heel. Gaze lifted towards that left hand, opening up the chest. Trying not to push the hips forward. And then coming back to center. Finding that breath as we move both hands back down. Finding the heels, opening those shoulders for camel pose. Trying to keep the chin away from the chest, the shoulders away from the ears as we really allow for space in that upper body. Inhale, the arms come up, and exhale down to child's pose. This time with our knees a little closer together, you can leave your arms forward or bring them back down by your feet, palms facing up, and letting those shoulders just slink down to the mat. And stretching your arms out in front of you, raising those hips high to the sky, knees still close together for puppy pose. So we can bring our forehead to the mat or our chin for an extra stretch behind those arms in the armpits. Really opening up that upper back. And then coming to a tabletop position, rolling over your heels, bringing the knees in, hugging those knees to the chest, and rocking yourself back and forth. We've done a lot of upper body, core, shoulders, back. We just want to roll out that whole spine. Before laying down on our back, knees bent, heels by the butt. We can have our hands on our stomach and just take a few breaths here, preparing ourselves for figure 4 stretch. So taking that right leg, crossing it over the left knee, flexing the foot, and just starting by pushing your hips away from you before hugging that left knee to your chest. You can keep that left leg straight or bent, whatever is most comfortable for you, but really getting a stretch in that outer right hip, keeping both of those feet engaged, dropping the left foot and then the right. And as we switch sides, first we push, make some space in those hips before we hug that lower leg to our chest, opening up the hip, keeping nice engaged feet to protect our knees. And just breathing through that pose, releasing your feet back down to the ground, and windshield wipering your knees towards either side, gently twisting the lower back. And then when you're ready, grabbing your strap to move into Paschimottanasana. So taking the strap on the pad of that right foot, one strap in either hand, and then just pulling that right leg towards you, keeping straight and engaged bottom leg, foot flexed, and you can take a slight bend in the knee of the right leg or the leg that you're pulling towards you. You can take a further stretch by lifting those shoulders up off the ground, pulling that knee in towards your nose, and then just twisting the leg over to the left-hand side. Right arm comes out, gazing over that right arm. Moving through center, taking the straps in your right hand and then opening up that hip, bending the elbow. You can even put a pillow or a block underneath that foot to protect that hip on the way down if it's not all the way down on the ground. And then bending the knee, pulling that right knee into your right armpit. You can hold the strap or the outer edge of your foot, but just allowing a nice 90-degree bend to really open up that hip. Releasing the strap if you're still holding on to it, hugging that right knee in towards your chest, and then releasing it back down to the ground. And switching over onto the left side, hooking the strap on that fleshy bit, the pad of the foot. As we keep that right leg straight and engaged, we pull the left leg toward us, one hand on either side of the strap. We can lift our shoulders up off the ground, pulling that knee in towards our nose for a more intense stretch. And then taking the straps in one hand, twisting that left leg over to the right side. Gaze towards that left hand, twisting the spine, moving back through center, grabbing the strap with the other hand. We open up towards that left side. You can even place your right hand on your right hip to ensure that it stays down and that we're just opening up that left side. Bringing it back up to center, bending your left knee, taking the strap in your left hand or maybe the outer edge of your foot in your left hand as we work that knee into our elbow. Taking a breath, we release the strap, hugging that left knee to our chest. Maybe taking some ankle rolls, making sure we do that on both sides, and then releasing that leg down towards the ground. Shaking our legs out, feeling all the heat that we just created throughout our body, hugging our knees to our chest, maybe giving small lower back circles, moving back and forth, side to side, finding whatever feels comfortable here. And then opening your arms up into cactus arms, so arms at a 90-degree angle, those knees still in a ball at your chest, and then exhale, dropping them down to the left side. On your inhale, using that core alone to pull those legs into center, and then let them fall to the other side. Moving back up through center, hugging those knees to your chest one last time, then releasing the feet down to the ground, heels by the butt, as we inhale to push up for bridge pose. Palms facing down on the mat. We exhale, rolling down one vertebra at a time, reconnecting our back to the mat. Inhale, following your own breath, come back to bridge pose. You can take a modified version, clasping those hands behind your back, coming up further on your shoulders. Pushing those hips up to the sky, engaging the glutes, maybe lifting one leg or the other, playing around with this position as you find something that challenges you, but is also comfortable to you. Remembering that this is not a competition. And rolling our spine back down when we're ready, dropping our knees to the mat on one side, and then the other, like a windshield wiper. When we're ready, extending the legs for shoulder stands. On the inhale, you're going to use the core to bring the legs up over your head, trying to create a straight line from shoulders up to your toes, taking your hands to your lower back to support that position, moving your hips and your legs all into one straight line. And if that's not available to you, that's okay. You can lower your feet towards the ground, maybe opening them up wide, bending those legs, trying not to collapse your chin into your chest, into your lungs, but really opening up this area, finding something that's comfortable for you, whether that's plow pose, ear pressure pose, bending your knees and squeezing them to your head, bringing those feet to the ground, staying up in that shoulder stand, finding that level of comfort for you. And then moving back down, using your core strength, one vertebra at a time, finding that nice elongated spine, that active core. Your legs gently float back down to the mat, maybe turning out your legs. flipping your palms up towards the sky, readjusting your head and your shoulders, elongating that spine for Shavasana, closing your eyes, recentering your breath and your mind on that intention that you set at the very beginning of class. That gratitude that you had for taking the time for yourself and your body. Rolling onto your right hand side, fetal position, waking up your body here or pushing up into a comfortable seat. Thank you.